listening to the MLS Fantasy Insider, bringing you weekly tips, tricks, and advice for the official MLS fantasy game.
All right, hello everybody. Welcome to the MLS Fantasy Insider. We are getting everything started. I think we've got the social taken care of, at least on. No, it is not. Why is my automatic button is not working? So hold on just a moment, everyone, while I get the social working because it is being difficult. So. Go to the Twitter. Let's see here. This is some good content right here.
Oh yeah.
Made me realize I forgot my wine.
Go get it. We're waiting on Reid. Go get it.
You've got time. I've got the coffee stout going.
There you go. Oh, nice.
Ooh,
You like
what's
it
the brand?
room temperature.
It's Antigua Brewing Company
Oh,
Okay.
out of Guatemala down here. So it's pretty good stuff. Little craft place.
all right. Sorry about that, everybody. I'm supposed to have some hotkeys set up to send out these social media tweets to help me not have to have these little long pauses, but I might need to restart my Stream Deck to make sure that works. But the social is out, so if you don't mind, please do us a favor and retweet that social media that's out there on Twitter or over at r/fantasy MLS. So we also post on Discord, so you don't have to post it there because I already do, but I mean, I guess you can. One of our admins may block you, but who knows? I'll tell them to be nice. But yeah, please share that. It helps us just get more interaction with the fans. It helps us get more views and just out there more to the fantasy community. So yes, if you're listening to us on YouTube, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, share, all that good kind of stuff. Because we're here to talk MLS fantasy. It was a good weekend for some people, mixed weekend for others. I was pretty happy with it, but we're going to get into all of that. Let's see, we've got a few people in chat, and they have all had fair warning. So Ashley did already make sure I have the recording going, so we will get started talking about this round. So here we go. Hello and welcome to episode 15 of the MLS Fantasy Insider, our preview of round 12. This episode is brought to you by not losing the Hell is Real Derby when up a man. Excellent. Missing out on $100,000 of international roster slot to Nashville? Priceless. Oh, wait, no. Actually brought to you by the amazing Patreon community of the MLS Fantasy Insider and MLSFantasyBoss.com. I'm your host, Reid Connolly from MLS Fantasy Boss, and tonight I'm joined by our usual co-hosts, Blayne Riffle and Ashley Savage. I'd also like to welcome our special guest, Ryan Walker from Atlanta's Soccer Down Here podcast and fantasy league. How's everyone doing?
I'm good.
Yeah, great.
Great here, Reid. Thanks.
Yeah, Ryan, great to have you here. Did I get that right for everything that you're affiliated with?
Yeah, a little bit of content going out for Soccer Down Here podcast and the Soccer Down Here Fantasy League. Just helping them out, get the word out, get the community growing. Just like to introduce new people to the game and get people talking.
I love it. That's exactly, I'm in that same vein. For those of you, you may be familiar, you may have heard me mention Ryan before. He's had some graphics that have popped up throughout this season about top performers, underperformers, some people you might want to target, switcheroo type things. So I've shared those out on Twitter, so keep an eye out for those if you're interested in keeping up with Ryan and what his project is. Yeah, just some good old fantasy community down there in Atlanta and having fun, and I'm happy to help promote and happy to have Ryan with us here live via Guatemala.
Yeah, that's right. So living down in Guatemala, so MLS Fantasy is my excuse to stay in contact with all the friends and family, talk some trash every now and then. So
And I like that part of the priority for moving to Guatemala was, of course, your jersey and the giant banner for Atlanta back there. Essential travel. is
That's right.
what's happening.
Really love King Panda.
Says Ashley, who has how many Sounders things behind you? I mean, I can't complain. I've got a
Yeah.
my newest acquisition is this Skyline Chili FC Cincinnati soccer ball that I picked up this weekend. So, I
I told
mean,
you guys, I'll put it away as soon as I can find a button.
glass houses. So no, nothing. And Blayne, of course, has the bourbon bottle behind him, the Sporting Kansas City bourbon. So,
Fancy.
it's
I
all,
even got the local soccer team, Sporting Atlanta United, down here, so we're gonna make a whole region of fans.
excellent. You're going to set up a whole entire new trade path for Atlanta right
That's
there.
what Atlanta United needs, more fans.
Exactly.
More scouting connections. Well, great. For those of you listening to the podcast, you did not see everything behind us in our video streams. Head over to YouTube, MLS Fantasy Boss YouTube channel, and you can check out the stream if you just want to see Ryan's excellent banner behind him, or Ashley once again live from her normal podcast room and not via location from some other location of her house, as weather permits. So you can check out all that if you catch our stream, which is it's the same content, just a fun little visual in the background at times, and you can see the chat that happens right here. Let's go ahead and start talking about round 11. I've seen some scores being posted in chat right now. Feel free to share your scores with us. We will share our results with you right now. Blayne, how did you do?
Got an 85.
Nice.
Started off the week really well. Didn't finish quite as strong. Still 8 points out of a Champions League spot, so I'm going to throw it all in this next week and try to get it. Saw a couple things. The app wasn't working for me, so made a couple of mistakes in my transfers and ended up paying off. Through all of my mistakes, I ended up with 2 Seattle defenders. Because I screwed up my rotations for New England and Nashville and everything, I was planning on doing a little bit more with them. Ended up scrapping all of it and grabbing 2 Seattle guys. So that really paid off well in the back. I stuck with Lille instead of Mukhtar. I have Mukhtar in draft, and I had that feeling that he was about to go off, but I kept Lille here just because. Bench hit with both Mihailovic and Legrand, so can't complain there. 85 was probably the score you needed to maintain needed to maintain your rank. That's about where I'm at. I saw a few people moving around me, but I think I moved up about 60 ranks with an 85, but I stayed 8 points off of the leader, or off of the top 50. So I didn't really gain any points ground, but I moved up in the rankings. So I guess that's less people ahead of me that I have to leapfrog to get in there, but it's going to be a little bit of work this week.
All right, Ashley, how'd you do?
Yeah, I had 78, which normally I wouldn't be too upset with, but I just made a couple of ridiculous choices when I saw that Nani wasn't starting. Had him in my original lineup. I had put Krylak in, and we were out in Seattle for the game, and just started getting in my head about it, and I swapped him for Frag last minute, which was just ridiculous. Lost a lot of points there. But I also had my Seattle defenders hit, which was good. I'm about 100 spots out of Champions League, so I can't decide how hard I want to throw in. It's probably possible, but not that probable. And then I picked up Kim Moon-Hwan, which
nice.
seemed to go really well. I love me some South Korean defenders, so that was more just for emotional connection rather than actually thinking it would pay off, and it paid off. But yeah, rolled on, hit great. The Nashville, I don't know who jumped off that train, but I was on it 3 players deep, so that wasn't the worst. And just like Blayne said, I switched from Mukhtar to Leo and landed on Leo and wished I hadn't, so, but still decent round.
Not so great for me. I missed out again on my defense, which seems to be my unfortunate pattern this year, is that my defense has just failed to hit. And that went for my switcheroos as well. So the only person who did well for me was Rui Diaz coming off the bench. Did okay with my midfield, Carlos Heel. I had Zelarayan, even though I was at the game. I'm a Cincinnati realist, so I had Cameron on my bench just in case he got some bonus points during that. But then I had Zelarayan on the field. So, but yeah, just several players underperforming. My big just goof of this round was I could have sworn I switched Willis out for my keeperoo after Cleveland, but I don't know. I don't know what I did. I thought I got rid of Willis because I wanted Cleveland, and my keeper just failed this week because I don't know what happened. But somehow Willis ended up being on the field and Cleveland ended up being on the bench. And when I checked my scores after visiting the zoo this weekend with my family, I was like, that's not how that was supposed to be. But so I got 69 points. I still won one of my head-to-heads, which is fine. I missed a couple more. The second qualifier, this is the end of the second qualifier, is what round 12 is. That's what we're going to be talking about. Ashley already alluded to that. I am definitely not making it. This whole second qualifier round has been brutal to me. Absolutely brutal. I did very close in the first one and then brutal in qualifier 2. So for those of you who may be experiencing this same phenomenon, I'm right there with you. And don't worry, there's 2 more to go. Plenty of time to make the Champions League. No problem. But yeah, so that was mine. Just a bunch of people underperforming. What about you, Ryan?
Yeah, had a pretty good week. Ended up on 89 points. Sounds pretty familiar to what Blayne experienced. I had a really hot start. Saw the New England-Toronto lineups, Pozuelo and Soteldo out there, so I got out of my New England defenders. I turned that into a Buxa-Bo combo on the bench. I just wanted to be a part of whatever was going to hit there. Turns out Buxa outscored, so I brought him in off the bench. Gained a couple points on people there. Everybody else having Bo. Also hit on the Seattle defender clean sheet. Moon Wan as well for LAFC. And then, yeah, had the misses. I thought I had a cute Maxi Morales on the road play against Montreal. Didn't quite work out there with 1 point. And then, yeah, missed on the Leal Mukhtar debate. Took the 3 from Leal. So went up a couple of places overall. I'm up to 62 overall. 8 or 9 points off Champions League. I don't think I'll go all in. Like Blayne's saying here, I'll probably stick to the same strategy I've been going with. Hopefully I make it in. If not, there's 2 more qualifiers, like you say. So.
Excellent. Yeah, looking over at chat, a lot of great scores there in the 70s and 80s. Big congrats out to Ted Firestone, 112 points this round, his best week of the year. Congrats, Ted. Excited to see some of these results, and happy to have helped you get that result. So yes, that's what we do. We're gonna, even though we may not always perform well with the choices that we decide to go with our teams, we do have a lot of pride in helping others talk through just your fantasy ideas as we're getting ready for the round. And whatever you decide to go with, happy to play any small part in helping you come to that conclusion. So congrats to everyone who got those fantastic scores. And do it again. Let's do it again. But let's talk about our general takeaways from round 11 that may help you as we're getting ready for this next round. Ashley.
Yeah, a couple of things. Seems to be starting to break through as a starter. You know, when they signed him, it seemed like that's what he was going to be, and then it wasn't really happening in the beginning of the year. He plugs into a great kind of wingback role, which is something I look for a lot with defenders who can produce offensive bonus points. And then LAFC grabbed 2 road shutouts in a row now, which is just something to make me take notice. We talk about this a lot, that it takes a lot for us to grab a road defender on a week, when everyone's playing, but they got 2 shutouts. I don't know if it's because of the keeper rotation or what, but that's definitely something I'm keeping an eye on with them. I just, in my notes, wrote Nashville Woof. I think that everyone gets that. I don't think I need to elaborate. I didn't get to watch a lot of that game, so I'm not sure where that kind of breakdown was coming. I think we were all kind of hot in a couple different positions for Nashville, and none of them came through except for Mukhtar. But yeah, so I'm not sure if they're stalling or if it's just because they're missing a couple pieces or what. Ruiz keeps scoring. Ruiz picked up another goal. I think he's tied for Golden Boot now. To me, and maybe I'm very wrong, he seems to just be doing it quieter because Chicharito's looking at braces and hat tricks and all these things, and I'm interested to see how he does on the road this week, but it was nice to see him score at home again because he's just racking them up.
All right, Blayne.
Yeah. I think one of the first ones I had is Krylock just keeps scoring. I know there was a debate a couple weeks ago with Rusnak having one good game, but Krylock is the more consistent guy. He stood out again this week. Klamala got a penalty kick goal. I talked him up last week that he was their kind of facilitator, picking up assists pretty regularly. I did not know that he was on penalties, but that's really a value up for him. Red Bull are still finding ways to get things done, and I think it's going to be a big part of it, whatever's going on from that forward spot. Good way to pick up some bonus points and everything else from a forward position there. Colorado's defense stock is still going up. Do not overlook them. Don't sleep on them. Boubacar is back and seems to be healthy now, and he is just an athletic freak for that defense. And the rest of the group playing well around him. We talked about it a little bit last week. Montreal hit again. Another good result. Mihailovic is kind of a cheaper option in the midfield that really put up some decent points for us. And then, I don't know, this is more of a question for chat. I think it's a little bit of both, but Chicago seems to be finding a rhythm and getting ready to score a little bit more. And Orlando's defense is absolutely horrible without Gillespie back there. I think he bailed out that defense a lot, and that's really good for him as a goalkeeper and for fantasy. But without him back there, they are just getting shredded. And so keep an eye on both of those. I think Chicago is trending up a little bit, but I think Orlando's trending down a whole lot faster than Chicago's moving up.
All right, Ryan.
Yeah, a couple takeaways. So first, Toronto, when Pozuelo and Soteldo start together, they look really dangerous, really creative. They just make a defense uncomfortable. I know we talk about look at the schedule, see who Toronto's playing, and put those players in, but you may have to watch Pozuelo and Soteldo together. May not want defenses against those two. Also, Minnesota. Minnesota seems to be the talk of the town last couple of weeks, but they're pretty unpredictable for me. I can't seem to play them at the right time. I'll probably stay away for the next couple of weeks until I see some more time with these new pieces, Fran Japan and how he works with Reynoso. So, and then getting back to the Nashville, Atlanta. Really lucky for Atlanta to get out of there with a point. I think the expected goals were somewhere around 0.3. Come out of there with 2 set piece goals. Really fortunate. Come out way more banged up than we went in. I think we lost 4 players out of the 11 that started. Mulroney and Soso be out on card suspension, while DeJohn and Adams came out with some more knocks, and they'll be out for multiple weeks. So the attrition continues in Atlanta. Something to take advantage of. I certainly will be. So, yeah.
Yeah, you guys covered pretty much everything that I think is worth mentioning. We did have one question in chat that I'll bring to the table real quick. What is it that has made... What happened in the past few weeks to make Chicago good? This comes from Eric.
It seems like it's midfield creativity, from just what I've been able to watch, and then where you see the points start to fall, right? Like, I don't know enough about them to speak confidently, but from my perspective, it seems to be just the midfield creativity is starting to hit. It doesn't seem to be coming a lot from Barrett, which is where we've seen it in fantasy in the past. And their defenders are also getting a little more involved in the attack, I think.
I think it's been a little bit of lineup shuffling with absences. I think Jimenez has been out and he has been playing a little bit more. Ali has come on strong. Madran's playing a little bit more advanced. He's a defensive guy, but he's playing a little more advanced. And I think Discord was talking about it a little bit. Set piece takers are all in flux right now for them too. I think Madran doesn't take as many set pieces when Jimenez and a couple other guys are out there. And with them out, he has been on those, which is inflating his numbers a lot in fantasy, which is great for us. But it's not sustainable if they drop him off as set pieces. But it feels like from what I've heard and what I've seen, it feels like there's just been a little bit of formation shuffling. And it's not that they're really playing a different position, it's just the different cast of characters around them is opening it up for them to do a little bit more, and it's translating to a lot of fantasy points.
Anything else to add to that, Ryan?
Yeah, no, I think it's exactly what they're hitting on. Madran, for me, he's made defensive midfielders look silly. I know against Atlanta he did a lot of that, so I pretty much have been ignoring Chicago in fantasy for the last few weeks, probably to my detriment, but we have to start looking at him.
But I will say it does help when you play Atlanta when they're absolutely gutted, and Orlando, who is also absolutely gutted. And that was a Nani-less Orlando as well, which means they're not holding possession nearly as much. So, but I mean, then they put up 3 on Philly the week before. Like their last 3 games, it's 3 goals on Philly, 3 goals on Atlanta, 3 goals on Chicago. They have just found a way to score, and putting 3 on Philly is not a small task with a healthy defense. I can kind of blow off the other 2 games, but that one really sticks out to me. I think they're finding something that's working, and Madran has been huge, and then Ali Seda has come on out of nowhere.
I mean, I think Ted mentions the thing. Other teams have gotten worse, and Chicago stayed the same. I think that's maybe over dramatic, Ted, but I think that's kind of fair. Call-ups have happened, injuries have happened. They've had some decent schedule. I mean, we were talking about last week that Atlanta was the San Jose of the East. I mean, they've had some matchups. Orlando had some of those problems. Sorry, Ryan. You're here to defend them this week. But they've had a good run, and definitely everything everyone was saying about they're starting to figure out what's working for the attack. That is good. But this is not a completely about-faced team that's ready to go. Going to be. I mean, there's still some questions. There's still been some situations that I think don't necessarily make Chicago the must-have guys. Let's throw them on the team. But maybe a good switcheroo option going forward is some of this under the right situations. Now, is this week the right situation away at Nashville? I don't know. We'll find out more about that in our player pick section. But no, I think those are about all the takeaways that I had. Of course, I was at the Cincinnati game, and I think that was that first half of soccer was the best I have ever seen Cincinnati play. They looked really good. They were on point. They were creating chances. And then the second half happened, and it just poof went away. But there's something there. There's some life there, and I don't know what needs to happen to make it work. But yeah, that was definitely a fantastic game to see, and I hedged my bets, like I said, and still went with Zelarayan because I know how this works. My points don't always show it, but I do know how this game works. So there that was. But yeah, no, I think you guys had some great takeaways. Nothing else from chat, so let's move on to our housekeeping section. All right, housekeeping. What's coming up for round 12? That's what we're all getting ready for right now. But first, a big shout out to the league leaders from the MLS Fantasy Boss network of leagues. A little bit of change up with some of these. The MLS Fantasy Boss and the r/fantasy MLS subreddit league. Those are 2 different leagues, but a lot of you all are in all the leagues, so it shows here. Nawajoa is the team name, and Nawajoa is leading both of those leagues. A new leader, so congrats right there. Samurai Panda is leading the Discord Classic League, and then Garth Butchers is still the head over at the Patreon Open League. So those are pretty competitive. A lot of switching back and forth in these leagues. The head-to-head, always tight. Love these head-to-heads. The Discord head-to-head is back to a 3-way tie with 3 teams on 10-0-1, but it is Friedman who is leading the way based on points. So we no longer have undefeated teams, so that's fantastic. Now we have Over at Patreon, Garth Butchers is still leading the way there, also with a score of 10-0-1. And then back over into the MLS Fantasy Insider Invitational Experts League. Mito is back with as overall score of 9-0-2 as the sole leader right there, but Sherry is right on his heels. So fantastic. That is the league that I actually won my head-to-head. So if I had to pick a league, that was the one I wanted to win, and I did win that one. So fantastic. Fantastic. Yes, thank you all of you who participated in our leagues. I still see people who joined the leagues. That's totally fine. We do give out prizes, MLS gift cards for a lot of these leagues. Not all of them. Some are just bragging rights, but many of them. If you want to be eligible for a prize, head over to MLSFantasyBoss.com right now. Go back a few pages until you find the registration link, or over on the league section for the registration link, because if you are not registered for one of the leagues, not just in the league, but you have to send me some information so that I can actually contact you, then you can't win a prize. So you have to be able to be registered and be contacted by me, because it's a pain to try to contact people who aren't registered. So now that is a requirement. So yeah, do that if you want to win a chance. We get a chance to win some MLS shop gift cards. It's good times. Good times. Lots of good people. All right, round 12. So we have some breathing room this week compared to last week. And heads up, round 13, quick turnaround. But round 12 starts on Saturday, July 17th at 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that is with Atlanta versus New England. And just a quick heads up for you right now, round 13 starts on Tuesday. So be ready for that. But round 12 starts, we have a whole week to catch our breath. Starts on Saturday, July 17th at 5 o'clock p.m. That's when you need to have your roster set, because a lot of teams are playing that day. No teams are on a double game week, but we have 3 teams who are on a bye. So we have Austin, Sporting Kansas City again, so 2 weeks off for Sporting Kansas City, and Houston, all on a bye. You can easily get 4.0 players for any position between all 3 of these teams. So having switcheroos and scrubs, very, very doable this week. Blayne, who do you have for some call-ups and internationals and red cards and all that good stuff?
Oh, I didn't have a chance to get to all of that today. Discord has a great call-up sheet out there. Let me see. I haven't looked at all the pinned messages lately. They're out there. There is a huge call-up sheet on the list. I'm having trouble finding all of this today. I don't know how the pins work. Maybe it's in the club. But yeah, keep an eye on those. I'll try to get that out on Twitter or join the Discord and go find it. I'm having trouble getting it today. Injury-wise, I think it's more of the same. I haven't heard of anything major that's new. More minor players than there are any big names. It's just going to be Gold Cup rosters that are really the problem right now. And there are a lot of guys out. MLS is pretty up to date. I think most of the red dots are accurate. I think they had a few guys that went that didn't get red dots last week, but those should have gotten corrected today.
Yeah, for those of you who are new to Discord or are currently on Discord but haven't had a chance to figure this out yet, when you download the client, near the top right corner of your client, there's a search bar and then some icons to the left of that search bar. One that looks like a bell, one that looks like a thumbtack, and one that looks like a couple of people overlapping each other. If you click on the thumbtack when you're in our main #MLS channel of the MLS Fantasy Boss Discord, that is the pinned messages, and it'll bring up messages that our admins have pinned, and some of it can be yourself as well that you pin, but messages that are pinned for you to be able to go back to quickly. And if you start scrolling down there, you'll find some messages from Ranchinator, who was on the show with us last week, about call-ups, but you'll also find Blayne, who has pinned the FMLS 2021 mega reference. And so that has set piece takers, and that has call-ups, and this is the mega reference that he refers to during the show. So that's how you find pinned messages on Discord. If you haven't figured that out yet, that's a little bit of a tip right there on how to find that section, a little thumbtack near the top right part of your screen. So yeah, check it out. It's a great resource, and likely at times more up to date than the actual call-ups and disciplinaries and injury section for MLSsoccer.com. So proud of that. You guys do an awesome job maintaining that, and it's 100% our Discord community. So congrats, guys. All right, so we reviewed the last round. We've gotten the little housekeeping out of the way, so now it is time to move on to the third segment of our show, where we're going to be talking about players to pick for the upcoming round. All right, so we have round 12 just coming around the corner. Who are we going to be targeting? Who should you be targeting? Or at least hear some conversations for how to help you reason with yourself and land on the player. So first, let's talk about the most promising games that we're looking forward to from a fantasy perspective. Ashley.
Yeah, I love this Red Bull at home against Miami game.
Yes.
Definitely pay attention to that. I found Red Bull just kind of unpredictable. So I don't know that I'm going to go all in on it, but still, Miami's been just so bad. I like Colorado at home against San Jose. And then I'm also paying attention to the Philly DC United game. Philly's going to have their third string keeper in, but all of their back line is still there. So it's hard to say, and it's hard to say where DC's going to be at, but I do like Philly at home in that game. So pay attention to those three.
Excellent. Blayne.
Yeah, I spoke about it earlier. I think TFC Orlando is going to be one of those huge ones. I don't trust the Orlando defense right now. Chat said Glace should be coming back from Copa America, so that may change my opinion a little bit, but Soteldo and Paz together seem to be doing well. I think that's one you can kind of key off on. I think Orlando's in a little bit of disarray. And the other one that Ashley really didn't talk about is I like that New England versus Atlanta matchup for points. I think it's a good one to kind of target. And then I've got Red Bull in Miami and then Colorado and San Jose. I think those two are just kind of the bread and butter for this week.
Yeah, the only thing I'll add from what you guys have mentioned already is I think that Montreal versus Cincinnati game does offer some opportunities for differential picks. If you're looking for some of that. And then one more I'll go ahead and throw out there. You guys had mentioned something about Chicharito earlier in the show, and he's on the road this week against Vancouver. So I think that could be another potential differential game for you. Maybe it's just Chicharito, maybe it's other players. But, yeah, there's some just a couple of things that we hadn't talked about. I'll throw those out there. Ryan, anything else to add?
Definitely targeting the New England-Atlanta game. Love the Red Bulls against Miami. They haven't scored or one goal in the last 5 games, I think. So I'm looking to pick on Miami. The other game that stood out is Portland hosting Dallas. So I like the sound of that game for Portland. I can't settle in on any Portland players right now. Valeri's the obvious pick. Hasn't looked great this year at times. Maybe lineup comes out and you have an open slot for Valeri. Worth a shout.
Maybe. Well, let's talk about the players who we do think are worth shouting out. We're going to talk about keepers, defenders, and clean sheets first. Just so you know, going into this, we don't really have a lot of consensus picks, which I love going into this, but the general consensus that we do have is that we want some kind of New York Red Bulls and LAFC coverage, be that either on a keeper or a defender or both. Otherwise, we're not very chalkboardy here. So Blayne, who are you looking at?
Yeah, I'll let you guys go with your consensus on the keeper. I threw Knighton out there. I like the way the New England defense is playing. I know this is a road game. Atlanta found a way to get stuff done this last weekend, but I'm expecting better from that. Knighton's just so cheap. He's easy to throw in on the front end. That's the first game of the weekend. You can see it. And then I'm going to my second choice keeper, which I'm on Yarborough right now for Colorado. I think this is one of the least crappy games you can get. I looked at Willis in this spot against Chicago, but Chicago's put up 3 in 3 straight games. I just don't know. No Zimmerman. I mean, that really turns me off with that one. You guys have identified a couple of other keepers, so I'll let you talk about them. But I like Yarborough this week a lot as my primary. And just go with Knighton for the cheap one in the first game and see what happens.
Ashley.
Yeah, I am doing and I think the three of us all said this. I'm gonna do a Cornell first for Red Bull, just to see how he hits. That game's early enough that you have some options later in the day. And then I'm considering Bond from LA. He's been getting consistent bonus points. They're missing they're missing players. It makes me nervous to do it without JDS. I might pull it from him. But that's what I'm considering right now. And then for defenders, I started talking about Tolkien, I think like 4 or 5 weeks ago when he was like 4 mil, and he's just really paid off. So I haven't had him every week, but I've had him enough times when he's hit. So I'm going back and forth between Tolkien and Duncan for Red Bull in my defender spot. And then I'm looking at Kai Wagner from Philly and then Keegan Rosenberg for Colorado. And those two guys are they're expensive. And it still always pains me to spend that much money on a defender, but they're putting up so many bonus points, and they participate in the attack that I think that they're probably worth it this week.
Ryan, what about you? I think your goalkeeper keeper-roo combo is probably the closest to maybe chalkboard or the consensus that we're going to see this week.
Yeah, it probably is. Starting off with Cornell, like Ashley, but then I see switching into Romero for LAFC. Pretty cheap option to put on the back end there if Cornell doesn't hit. Cornell does hit, I'll probably drop Romero and add another LAFC player to the attack. Defense, I definitely want a New England defender this week. I benched one last week, but I'll probably get one in there this week. There's not a lineup Atlanta could put out, I think, that would scare me off this week. I'll probably go buy. I like him running at probably Mikey Ambrose. So I'll have one of Red Bull's defender as well. And then I think I'm going to go Moon Wan for LAFC, see if he can stay in the Flames. And yeah, I like the Rosenberry shout from Ashley.
Yeah, I'm the same with the goalkeeper, Cornell and Romero. I think that's, like I said, the more standard, maybe the chalkboard pick. The Red Bulls play at 7, and then LAFC plays at 10:30. Plenty of time to see the results from the Red Bull game. Just make sure he's on your bench. Don't do like me and have that weird thing happen with Cleveland this past week. Have him on your bench. But yeah, plenty of time to see that. Going up against Miami for Red Bull, that's been a team that's struggling. And then RSL has also not been putting up some of the numbers. And LAFC's been doing well with clean sheets, as Ashley said. So probably two of the better shots right there. Over on defense, I'm looking at Moon as well. I like his price, and I like the results that he's been getting. I think that's an easy one, probably a pretty standard pick that a lot of people are going to have this week. I like a New York City. I think I put FC in my notes, but it's RB, New York Red Bull player. They've got some options. I mean, they have a couple of cheap guys. They had a 4 million player get like 11 points, 9 to 11 points this last week. So for the Red Bulls, I think this is definitely a game. Wait for the lineup, see who's starting, and you could have a very easy budget option right here. Or you can go with Duncan or someone else. It's whatever you want, but I think you're going to have definitely good value options here. So if someone from Red Bull, whoever that ends up being based on your budget. For my third pick, I'm trying something weird this week. So I'm running the two 4.0 keepers or 4.0 scrub defenders in the back. On my bench, I have Camacho from Montreal going up against Cincinnati. Just want to see how that works. We did well in the first half, but now we're on the road. I'm interested to see how that goes. I have budget left in my salary cap where if he completely fails, I can swap out one of my playing defenders with somebody else because I've got two 4.0 guys who aren't playing. So Cincinnati plays at 7:30. That gives me at least about an hour to see what happens, to decide if I want to throw in a Colorado player on my field. So I'm playing a little fast and loose this week with the defense because I'm not making the Champions League with this week, so I'm kind of having some fun with it. But I just want to see what happens. I just want to see what happens. I mean, if you're looking at at Comancho right here. He's had some great rounds. I mean, he had a 4 this last week. Before that, he had an 8, then he had a 5, then he had a 10 and a 7. So he can generate bonus points on the defensive side, and that might work if Cincinnati's able to get some kind of attack going, or with Acosta doing something, then maybe he gets some bonus points, or maybe we end up scoring the 3rd fastest goal in MLS history this week. Who knows? I mean, 25 seconds is the time to beat. But yeah, so I'm going a little bit weird there, but that's sort of my plan. Is I'm trying to work with the switcheroo and the auto-roo and see what happens on defense. But I definitely do like Colorado. That would be the next team I'm going to target if I replace somebody on the bench. Okay, let's move on to midfielders now, in case that was confusing enough for anybody. Let's go to our consensus. It's heel. That's the only consensus that we have. That's probably the only consensus that we're going to have in the entire league is heel, unless you're a dead team. But after heel, Ashley, who are you considering?
Yeah, I'm considering Nani. I don't know. I hadn't seen. Maybe you guys know why he was held out of the starting lineup last week. But I just think that Toronto game is going to be kind of bonkers, and if there's any sort of crazy goal scored, I feel like he'll have something to do with it. And then on that exact same game, I guess I just can't get away from it. I'm looking at Soteldo or Pozuelo. I kind of can't decide at the moment. Soteldo impressed me when he was playing before he was injured or gone. No, he was gone, right? He wasn't hurt. He was gone for international. But Pozuelo, so I keep going back and forth between which one of them I want this week, but I definitely want one of them. And then I'm picking up Zelarayan and Barrios. Barrios has been like quietly consistent. Nothing crazy. I mean, he's got a lot of, like 6, 7, 8s. But I like that matchup for him this week. And then Columbus is missing so many people, and I think the derby took a little bit out of them over the weekend for sure. But he just continues to perform alone. So I feel like he's a good shout this week, even though they don't have a cakewalk of an opponent, and they're missing a million people. But I'm picking him up anyways.
I can tell you about Zelarayan. He was playing in place of Zardes with him being called up, so he is right up there with the forward. Got the goal, an absolute rocket of a goal, and then he had the assist as well for that. But that was where he was playing this last week, so I'd expect him to play there again. Let's see here, Ryan.
Yes, very similar picks to Ashley. Actually, I want a piece of that Orlando-Toronto game. As long as Nani's healthy in the lineup, I can't see not going with a rested Nani in that one. Soteldo, Pozuelo is going to be the Leal Mukhtar of last week. I think you're either going to pick the right one or you're not, but we'll see. We're going to take Joao Paulo for the floor. I think even on the road, his floor seems so safe. Just lock that into the midfield until Ladero gets back. And then, yeah, I like Zelarayan as well. I'll probably put him on the bench. I may actually reserve that bench midfield spot for him for the rest of the season. Been huge 14-point weeks, and then he'll drop a 2 or 3.
Yeah.
I want to be a part of those big weeks, so maybe always bench Zelarayan for me. But yeah, I do like him with Zardes out. I think he actually gives you a lot more value attacking going forward. So.
All right, Blayne, who about you?
Yeah, I think the first name I added in my midfield, and this doesn't include Heel because he's just on the team, like never have to add him anymore, was Cáceres Jr. for Red Bulls. Been playing really well. I like this matchup more than some of the other ones. I had Mukhtar in there. I think that's a little bit of point chasing because of what he did last week. I think the smarter play may be to take Leal here. I like this matchup a lot. I think there's going to be some points here. I think you take Leal if you see Cadiz start this one. But if you don't see Cadiz start, I think Mukhtar plays a little better. I think he plays off the CJ better. That's just kind of gut feeling getting to watch a few of these games recently. But if Cadiz is in there, I think you'd rather have Leal. So that's kind of what I'm basing that choice on when I see the lineups. I'm also leaning Soteldo over Paz. I think Paz is a rotation risk. This is a home game. I don't see him rotating much. But if they go up or down early, big, I can see him coming off either way. I think Soteldo will stay out there a little more. And I just, with the way it's been going against Orlando, I think that wide play is going to be where most of the points come from, not up the center. Just gut feeling on that one. I'm also watching to see if Nani's in or out of that game. I think that's going to play a huge difference for where Toronto's points come from, too. And I have no real way of deciding that now and telling you what I'm going to base that on until I see the lineup. If Nani's out, it depends on who they put in there. Benji Michel has played some. He likes to get in behind. He's fun and dynamic, and I think that changes how Toronto's going to play against him. But so that one's kind of up in the air. But I'm going to have one of those two guys from Toronto in my team. There's no question about that. It's just which one. And then the last guy, because I had Montiero in there first, but I think he's out this week, and so I flipped it to Barrios on this one. To go with what Ashley said, he has been quietly consistent, and Reid's going to hate this.
Yep.
But in his last 6, he's got a 1-2 and 1-4, and the 4 came in a 45-minute performance against FC Cincinnati, and the 2 came against Sporting Kansas City. But the rest of his games have been 7s and 8s, and they've been, the last 2 were 7s against Seattle and Minnesota, which is pretty solid defenses. This is against San Jose, and I think he's going to get something done. I think this team's playing well with him. I think he's hit a rhythm with the rest of the guys around him. And I don't know, I just got that feeling. I think this is one of those where I'm tempted to not even put him on the bench this week, Reid, and you'll never play him on your field. But that's how strongly I feel about this one. And when I did my first draft, I didn't have him, but I shied away from both Zelarayan and Nani this week. And even when I found out Monty couldn't play, I didn't immediately jump to those guys. I went looking somewhere else. So I'm going to go with my gut, and I'm not looking at those 2 guys here. And that's why I've got Barrios in over them. So I know Zella and Nani are getting a lot of talk, but I've just got that feeling that they're not going to have those weeks this week.
Yeah, if you're playing me in a head-to-head, go ahead and get Barrios, because I will not have him. I just can't. I just can't. Everything you say makes sense. Everything you all said makes absolute sense for Barrios, and then I will take him and he will get a -8, and that's what would happen. So for me, I have Heel and I have JP. Same reason you said, Ryan. I think he has a great floor. Kind of like that game as well. And then I have Caceres Jr. as well from New York Red Bull. After that, it's sort of a toss-up with a few other ones. I mean, I've considered Zella because I like him playing in the advance in place of Zardes. I think he's going to be getting some more opportunities as well. But I also looking at Pozuelo. Just checked with Jojo, one of our Toronto guys in the chat, who says he's not sold on Soteldo yet. His goal was a gift. He also tends to dribble too much, then runs out of room to cross the ball, saying that he could go off any time, though. So that's the toss-up.
Shorts, the hiked up shorts. Come on.
I have Pozuelo right now, so that's my tends to be my go-to, but one of those guys is also in there. I'm also considering Mihailovic against Cincinnati. He's had some good results as well, and Cincinnati, if they're just a one-half team, I mean, there's 45 more minutes for something to happen, and Montreal's been putting up some points, so I'm looking at that, but a lot of stuff's up in the air for me. You guys have mentioned some good options with midfield, that Liel and Mukhtar option there with Chicago, definitely potential. Everything you say makes sense about Barrios, and I won't pick him. So there's that as well. But yeah,
For the rest of us, okay?
exactly. I won't. That's my gift. That's my gift to the fantasy community, is not ruining Barrios. There we go. All right, let's head over to forwards. We do have a consensus pick of all of us for forwards, and that is Carlos Vela. So we're all looking at Carlos Vela this week. He's, I guess, definitely the chalkboard right here. After that, who are you looking at, Ryan?
Yeah, forwards were pretty tough for me this week. Vela was the first name off the board, just like his floor as a forward. I thought about a Red Bull forward in Fabio or Kamala, but couldn't fit them with the defenders I have. So then I went Bo for New England. I like what he could do. If Chicharito starts, if we get wind midweek or so that he's actually going to play on the weekend, I can't see not having Chicha against Vancouver. But I'm also not afraid to go Bo Buxa back-to-back weeks. If we see a Atlanta United 2 lineup early in the week, I might be tempted to double up again. Maybe they both get into the starting lineup this week.
Brave. Blayne, what about you?
Yeah, I'm pretty solidly on Klamala this week for Red Bulls. I think I'm going to stake my claim on Champions League on how Red Bulls do this week, and I'm going to triple up here. I think this is a matchup where you can get some differentials. I know these guys are pretty popular right now, so it's not super differential. But I think this is where I'm looking at all the other names coming off the board and what I've seen around, and I think this is where you can really steal some points and go with that. And you got to look for big returns. I put Bo in there as my first one. I like putting a forward in that first game when they've got a decent matchup, but this is a road game. Bo didn't do enough for me last week, so I'm kind of torn on this one. I threw Vela in there. I haven't been super impressed with him. I know he's getting back in form, but he hasn't done anything to really wow me, to put me back on like, oh, I've got to go grab him. And I've seen more from other guys. But I think this is the week where you kind of need him. I'm going to come off that train and grab him. But I'm also looking at Rubio and Chicharito. I wish I would know if Chicharito was playing. That game is so late that it's really hard to pivot from him to anybody else. Not knowing where the lineups are going. Maybe it's you try Chicharito, and then if that doesn't work, you go to Rui Diaz on the road, but Minnesota's defense is good. Maybe you take a Bobasi at home, assuming he plays, against Dallas, who have given up some goals lately. I have a hard time with the pivot on that one, and I like some of the other matchups earlier better. Trying to run through my thought process, because I know there's a lot of people that are within striking distance of Champions League, and I think this is a week where you kind of you trust your gut. You pick those names that you like. I threw Rubio out there. Chicharito's another one. You look for, if you're trying to make up ground, you really identify a guy that you think is going to get multiple goals, and you go with it. Like you can take a Vela who you're expecting to get 6 or 7, but if you're trying to make up ground, you may dump Vela for Chicharito, who you expect to get a brace. You look at some of those other games. I don't even know who to highlight here as a forward. I mean, maybe it's if you think Miami's that bad, maybe it's you take both Fabio and Klamala, and you're hoping for Fabio to get the brace and Klamala to get a couple of assists, and you ignore one of these guys like Rui Diaz, who is a pretty consistent 7. And if you're thinking a lot of people are going to take Rui Diaz for that, you go look for that second goal somewhere else. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do, is figure out where I can get 2 goals here from a forward and not take a single goal guy. And that's why I'm on Vela. That's why I like Klamala. Rubio's definitely one of those guys that I think could be there. And then I'm going to have to probably come off that New England one and not try to grab a forward in the first game, because I don't know that I see a 2-goal performance in either of those guys.
Blayne with his crystal ball here. All right, Ashley.
Yeah, like you said, I went Vela was one of the first names I grabbed this week. I think he's starting to click a little bit, and I don't want to not have him when he goes full Vela. I'm also going back and forth between Kamala and Fabio. I've liked Fabio more this year, but watching Kamala take PKs last week made me a little more inclined to go with him. And then I just keep cycling through this third spot, kind of like Blayne said. I'm going to throw out a couple different names to him, though, that I've been going through in my head. I like Benjamin Michel when he starts. he's not a DK replacement, mind you, but I think that game, like I said already, is going to be kind of bananas. And for a bench striker, I'm not gonna start 3 this week. That's something that I'm paying attention to. It doesn't seem like Chicharito's going to play, and here's my other thing for that. Like Blayne said, it's late, so it's really hard to just have him unless you've got all the cash to burn. He can be on your bench. But I've been watching Chicharito for a really long time, and he's not going to have JDS, Du Bois. If Victor Vasquez starts, maybe you consider him. Chicharito, no, I mean, no disrespect, but he needs a couple people, and I don't know if he has it with everyone who's on international duty. And in that same token, Vancouver. So if there's a game where you pick up kind of a nobody from the Galaxy that might hit it, it might be this week. I mean, Cabral and Zurek did great last week without Chicharito, and they put up an 8 and a 7, and I think both of them cost like 6 or 5 million. And like I said, I'm just talking for like the third bench spot cycle through, not someone I would ever start out or anything like that. But and then if he starts, which it's been hard for me to tell, Shinyaziki, I like how he plays better than Diego Rubio. Diego Rubio is so boomer bust. He doesn't pick up a lot of bonus points. San Jose is San Jose. But if Shinyaziki's starting, I might look at him to fill that third striker spot. But yeah, like Ryan said as well, strikers this week were tough, which it hasn't been like that for a while. I hear the Bow and Buxa shouts for sure. It's just not something that I'm drawn to this week. But yeah, it's filling that third spot for me has been a little tricky.
And as for myself, yes, Vela, I know, Blayne, you're a little bit unsure about him, but I mean, he's got 3 assists and a goal within his past 4 games. He's started most of those games as well. Good, consistent minutes now, so I think he's a good shot this week, and I like more of the consistency. And he's sub 9 million, so I mean, for that's I think a pretty easy price range to go with that for this week. Otherwise, I have Rui Diaz. So I do like that matchup, and I like Rui Diaz, and he tends to score in bunches. And a couple games ago he missed one, then he hit one this week. So I'm like, hey, maybe I can catch the rise of the Rui Diaz goal scoring bonanza. So I like Rui Diaz, and then also I have Kyoto on my bench right now for Montreal, sort of betting against. Pardon?
I think he's with Gold Cup.
Did he leave? Oh, that one's not updated yet. Well, scratch that. No, thank you. I appreciate that one. I didn't.
Now you're trying to fill your third spot too.
Now I'm trying to fill
Join us.
my third spot. I mean, maybe I will just put nobody there and go with one of those Colorado defenders like I was talking about. Who knows? Or, I mean, I've got 8 million just sitting on my bench right now, so I could just wait and see what happens with Chicharito. No, I agree with what you said about Chicharito. That team is very much, as we've said before, as he goes, as goes that team, and with so many people missing, I'm definitely just not even considering Chicharito. Perhaps this might be a week when you do look at just some of those differentials. Looking at DC playing against Philadelphia to see who they have lined up there. I mean, I like what you were saying, Blayne, seeing who's starting with Nashville, and that could be a nice little trick to get in with Chicago. But we shall see. But yeah, no, I guess I'll just kind of wait and see what happens with that third spot. I appreciate that though.
I like the Abobasi shout from Blayne. I took a look at him earlier in the week. I just feel like his ceiling is pretty low.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like he's that 2-goal guy. Even when he gets a goal, he's going to end you 6-7 points max.
They're pretty banged up too, right? They're missing a lot of people, offensive people. With the Chara's more and Nisgoda's been out. Blanco's not back yet. They have a couple more injuries. Larea got hurt, and so you got to dig kind of deep in the rest of that midfield for offensive, strength. And so I think Abobasi is a sneaky one, but like you said, I think his ceiling is just kind of low, and Dallas hasn't been that bad, but you never know.
I don't know. I mean, 3 goals to LA, 2 goals to Vancouver, 1 to New England, which was kind of New England's rough game there.
Yeah.
2 to LA, 1 to Minnesota, 3 to Colorado. If you go back through Dallas's last game, I think the above the Chiefs have more picking on Dallas than it is really liking Portland.
Yeah.
But
I just don't know if he's the guy that's going to score it. That's kind of my thing. Is like, if he'd been getting on the score sheet a little more consistently, there's going to be a goal in that game. I just don't know that I think it's going to come from him, and that's what makes me hesitant to throw him in. But I think it's a decent shout for sure.
I mean, you talked about Philadelphia's third string keeper, Ola Kamara.
Yeah. Right? Sure.
So there we go. We can find out.
Yes, this week.
We can find out. All right, let's get ready to wrap things up. Some quick switcheroos. No general consensus here, just sort of what you guys are thinking. Ashley.
Yeah, I touched on it briefly. I'm thinking about Benji Michel or Tesho as a striker switcheroo. I like Kim Moon Hwan for LAFC. I don't know that I necessarily see a shutout there. I know what LAFC have been putting up, but RSL, when they for some reason knock them out of playoffs, grab goals, RSL seems to come into the bank hot. Historically, I don't know that I think that that's going to happen this week, but I've watched them lose to RSL at home before when I thought they were just going to smash on them. So if I pick him up, he's definitely a switcheroo. I like Lucio Costa. I feel like I'm stealing one from Reid, but Reid's not taking it, so I'm going to throw it out there. He had a great week this week. He's had a couple great weeks, and then he dies off, and then he comes back. Montreal's missing enough people that I think that it's possible for him to keep going this week, but I don't feel confident enough to start him. And then I'm also considering Cifuentes for LAFC. He's got 2 goals and an assist as a cheap midfielder. I haven't watched enough. I don't know if he's kind of taking some from Atuesta, if he's just kind of actually playing more of like, that 3 top striker role. But he's just been picking up points, and he's cheap. I don't need the money, but I'm not bold enough to start him, so I'm considering him as a switcheroo. And then I know I've said 1,500 names just now, but I'm going to have one more, and it's Julian Araujo for the Galaxy. He does well. I feel like he's always a second away from a red card. That's what's my hesitation picking him up. But he's been contributing offensively, and we talked about them missing a lot of people, and I could see him playing as a winger instead of a defender, not a wing back, but like an all-in-out, midfielder attacking player this week with everyone being gone. So depending on the lineup, I might slot him in. I'm going to try to leave space for him on my bench to see if that would work out. So, yeah.
Excellent. Blayne.
Yeah, first name I put down here was Mihailovic for Montreal. I think he's one of those, when Montreal has a good game, he has a great score. I think this is a chance for Montreal to have a good game, so I think he's got to be one of those guys you're looking at if you're looking for a switcheroo that's a little bit cheaper. Some names we talked about, I think Mukhtar and Leal, whoever you take, is a bench play this week. I like both of them. I'm going to have one of them. I just really think they're a bench play this week. Same with Paz. If I have Soteldo, I'd probably start him. If I end up with Paz, he's probably a bench play just because I think he's a rotation risk. Same with Zeller Ayan. I don't have him. I'm probably not taking him. But for those that are wanting to take him, 100% bench play on that one. The chance for a 2 or a 3 is there. And I would not risk that with him the way the team is built right now with all the absences. And then Clark for Red Bulls, I think, is a huge shout for the bench this week. If you've got an extra Red Bull spot, he's had all... What?
Is he healthy?
Is he healthy? I don't know.
He's supposedly back from the appendectomy by this weekend. That's the talk.
Like, what was that, 3 weeks ago?
Will be on Saturday, yeah.
Yeah, 3 weeks. Like, my grandmother had one of these, and she was back on her feet in 6 days.
Wow.
My 80-year-old grandmother had an appendectomy and was back on her feet in 6 days. Now, I know playing professional soccer is a little different,
Sure.
but 3 weeks should be more than long enough for a professional athlete to get back from an appendectomy. Like, it had to have been, like, close to bursting if he's out for more than 3 weeks.
Yeah. Well, it's gone now, so he should be fine.
Yeah, 3 weeks. He should be back. So, yeah, if Clark is starting, he is a definite bench option that I'm looking at just because I really think Red Bulls is primed to go off this week. And he could easily have one of those goals in that one and just be involved. So definitely a bench shout.
Yeah, you may have talked me into a Clark shot there. That's interesting. So, first name I have on here is Zelo Ryan. Like I said, if you're not going to bench him, this might be the week not to have him on your bench just because he is getting so far forward. Another name that I think hasn't come up is Grezel for DC, with Philly being on their third string goalkeeper. Could be putting in a lot of crosses, a lot of bonus point generation there. And in the same vein, I just thought of Roberta for DC United. He's been getting the start over Ola Kamara, and from the little I've watched him, he looks like he fits that system pretty well. So if we get word Chicharito's not out, maybe I spend that extra bench spot on Roberta early enough in the game week, get to see his score. So.
All right, no, I think you guys covered a lot of the good ones, so I'll just say let's move on to our captain pick, our consensus captain pick, Blayne.
It's Heel. I don't know what else to say. Even though they're on the road for this one, it's Heel. He's getting it done, and Atlanta's decimated. I want to go differential and try to make up some ground here, but I can't see Heel having that bad of a game, and I don't see anybody else potentially putting up a solid 10. I'm looking at a bunch of 8s when I look at my players. Like I'm not seeing a ton of double-digit scorers this week. I've grabbed some that I'm hoping will get there, but I'm seeing a lot of 7s, 8s, and 9s across the league. Even with the names I've talked about, Castro Jr.'s there, Soteldo and Purpaz is there, Mukhtar Leal, 7, 8, 9 in that range. I don't see anybody I'm just like, oh, I'm expecting a double-digit score from this player, except Heel.
Ryan.
Yeah, it's Hill, and it's not close. 17 points against Atlanta the first time they met. Going up against Atlanta United 2 this week, I think his floor is a 10 probably, so I don't think it's the week to get cute.
Ashley.
Yeah, I am considering Vela if I decide I want to compulsively make up the short distance I have for Champions League, but I think that's dumb unless you're trying to do what I'm trying to do. I think Heel is, again, an obvious choice, but I will vocalize that I'm going back and forth just because I am considering trying to nab a spot, but I think, like Brian said, Heel's floor this week is kind of hard to pass up.
Yeah, for me, it's Heel all the way, which this should make your captain's article easy. Actually, once again, it's going to be Heel or someone from your son's soccer team. That's
Vela or Easton.
Vela or Easton. That's those are Heel, Vela, or Easton. Those are your 3 options this week.
Less than 4 goals a game. Like, how could you not captain?
There we go. Yeah, no, that's it. I don't really know if there is. Perhaps Vela as a second option for a captain, but it seems like Heel would definitely be the consensus. So if you are trying to make something up for Champions League, Ashley touched on a very good point there. Your captain pick could be what sets you apart, since the majority of people will likely go with Heel this week. All right, well, that's all that we have for the show tonight. Thank you, everyone, for sticking with us. And we got plenty of time before this week starts, so just let this stuff marinate and simmer, and just think about what you want to have happen for your fantasy team this week. Let's get some plugs before we wrap up tonight. Ryan.
I think I'm finally getting some Guatemalan Wi-Fi issues here, but shout out to the Soccer Down Here podcast and the Soccer Down Here Fantasy League. Jason Wright putting that on, the Jason Wright Agency. Had a lot of fun with those guys. Great podcast. It's not just Atlanta United. They hit the whole league and Europe, South America. They do it all, so check that out. And then I have to shout out the Resurgence supporters group and the fantasy league we have there. Have a lot of fun playing the villain in that league, so shout out to those guys.
Excellent. Heck yeah. Blayne.
Yeah, gonna give a shout out to everybody who's trying to make up ground this week or jump into the Champions League spots. Like, I'm in that boat. I think this is the week to do it, and I'm gonna use my plug to say, grab those differentials and definitely don't overlook that you can sort players by current ownership percentage. As you're looking for differentials, now these are artificially inflated by dead teams that are out there that haven't changed in a month or two. So you will see some names near the top of the list of ownership that just people haven't adjusted for them being out. Ladero's still in like the top 30, even though he hasn't played a minute, when people set their lineup with him to start the season and then left it.
Played 12 minutes once.
Yeah, it's that type of thing. People have him. Yeah, he's owned by 6.9% of teams in the league. So understand that there is some flexibility in here, but if you look at the lower percentage ownership, that's where you start finding your differentials. Look at the guys who are active and available and not necessarily as owned. If you start doing this now and check it every couple of days, write down the ones you're looking at and see how much they shoot up by the weekend. You'll see how many people are adding them in as they get closer and closer to kickoff. And that can help you. Getting one of those guys, if you're really trying to make up ground, your differentials that aren't as well or aren't as widely owned are where you're going to get your points. I love the Gressel shout earlier. If you trust DC going into Philly, no Areola, so Gressel's going to get more of those touches down the right-hand side. That is potential for huge points if they can break down the Philly defense. He's currently at a 1.9% ownership. He's had some good weeks. He's been on people's radar, but he's not going to be widely owned this week going against that. So look at these, grab your differentials, and I really just want to say good luck trying to do it. I know everybody's trying to leapfrog spots. Ashley, I looked you up. You've got about 18 points to make up to get top 50. I'm at 8 or 9 points to hit top 50. Like, we're going to have to make up, everybody's trying to make up some ground here. Differentials are the way to do it, and good luck finding them.
Ashley.
Yeah, I am going to plug fellow MLS fantasy enthusiast Alex Roldan, who is the only player in MLS for the season to have a save, a goal, and an international goal as he did last night and as a sub. So, real proud of that there, Alex Roldan. And like I said, fellow MLS fantasy enthusiast. So, shout out to him.
Need to get him on the show.
You know, he's very busy now. Look at all the things.
Well, when he comes back, this is your job. This is your job. And of course, I'm going to plug everybody and everything involved in the MLS Fantasy Boss Network. The MLSFantasyBoss.com website will have some more articles rolling out this week, including Ashley's captain article and maybe a switcheroo article from Blayne. We'll see if he has time. Also, the MLS Fantasy Boss Discord, an amazing community. It's pretty much displaced r/fantasy MLS at this point, the subreddit, but there's still some stuff that happens over on the subreddit, but definitely a lot of the action happens at the Discord. Over 700 members are subscribed to our chat right now. That includes some of the best minds in fantasy and MLS employees. So there's definitely ways to provide your feedback and get information and tips all the time. And we have more than just MLS Fantasy. There are also channels for other hobbies and interests in other fantasy leagues as well, and some partner channels that we have as well, especially for FPL. So yeah, that's a fantastic community. Have to plug that as well. And finally, last but not least, especially in our hearts, the MLS Fantasy Insider Patreon supporters. You all are absolutely amazing. You make this community what it is from the podcast side, and all of you who also contribute on the Discord side. There's so much overlap there. Everything that you guys do in the chat with talking about how we have helped you and seeing your results, it just means so much to me that we're all able to have fun together, and that what we're doing is helping you have more fun and enjoy this game as well. So thank you so much, those supporters. And if you're interested in learning more about how to become a Patreon, you can head over to MLSFantasyBoss.com and see the information, or head over to patreon.com/MLSFI. So it's easy. But that's it. Thank you so much. And as always, good luck.